We are live here, and this is the last interview of 2023. It's December 26th, and it is 55 degrees here in Ohio, and I think a perfect night for one to spend in a garage with some great stuff going on here. But
all hours of the night.
Yeah, Don is bringing us in his garage to share with us. What's the name of your project?
So it's actually called Project Rust Bucket. It's a 1986 Camaro Z28 IROC that started as a bet and worked its way up into even more insanity.
and that name originates from where?
My 11-year-old daughter actually came up with the name.
Okay. So and you're going to take us right back to your, I would call it, this is kind of your studio, but it's your garage. You're cutting, welding.
Yeah, cutting, welding, fabricating, coming up with the random ideas off the top of my head.
Love it. All right, so you're going to take us there. And on our way back, right, as we're heading back, you're saying that you spend as much time as you can back here in the garage.
Yeah, I work 8 to 4 every day. So when I'm trying to wind down, relax, get my mind off of work and everything, I spend 90% of my time out in my garage.
And you've got some serious wheels here for everyday riding, right?
My daily, and then this is another project I got going on.
Your daily? Yes, you're. Tell us about this vehicle, because this is
2015 Dodge Challenger V6. It is not stock. It does have quite a few aftermarket upgrades. This is my get around, go get parts for this thing and materials and fabrication. It's fun.
and then as we're stepping back, there's another vehicle here, and this is a second project. Are you working on both of them at the same time?
This one I have yet to actually start.
Okay.
I do have all the parts for it, but this is actually my daughter's car. I got it for her. This is her Christmas/birthday present. It's a 1962 AMC Rambler on a 85 S10 frame. So it's actually a body swap car.
So tell us about that. You bought the frame.
So I actually bought the entire project. I bought a 79 Chevy Ramp truck. Mm-hmm. That you'll see where the dually axle went to it in a minute. But I traded that to a friend of mine for this. He posted it to me on Facebook one day and was like, "Hey, would you trade the truck for this? Because I'm looking for a shop truck." And I absolutely had to have it. I love crazy rat rod looking stuff, but he's got it all set up for air ride. I just got to put it together and put a motor and transmission in it and brake lines, all the fun stuff.
Oh, man. And do you find yourself getting distracted by walking past this vehicle? Are you like, no, I gotta...
Yeah, it's. I want to tinker with it, but I just don't have any of the sheet metal or material to start it yet.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, no, wait. Just wait a little longer. But I'm trying to get this one done before I start messing with something else.
Yeah.
Because that rust bucket eats up a lot of my time.
I love it. Where did this, you said, was this car an Ohio car?
This, I believe he actually got from Michigan.
Okay.
A guy was actually selling 2 of them. One ran and drove, and the other was a parts car. And this is actually the parts car. The other one, I don't exactly know what happened to it. But he has another one up in Michigan. He has the title for it. He's like, "Oh, if you want the title, I'll give it to you. You can just go up and get it yourself." And I'm like, "Cool, I have 2." So it's nice to have another parts car around. But I have all the parts to it, all the original trim, all the original parts, steering wheel column, front grille, rear bumper, all of it.
Look at that dashboard. If you can see it or not. Love it. And this is Project Rust Bucket, right?
Yes.
Named by your daughter.
Yeah, this is the creme de la creme. This is my 6-year crazy insanity project. Actually, it started a friend of mine, Travis Kendall. I've known him for the better part of 25 years. We actually grew up together. Also a special effects artist, actually.
Okay.
And he's done a lot of the haunting and stuff, but he had a lot to do with this car. But many, many years ago, both huge fans of the Mad Max movies, he was like, "Oh, wouldn't it be cool eventually, when we get older, if we could build a Mad Max car of our own?" So kind of went from there. And then I was like, 6 years ago, I got a wild hair up my butt and was like, I'm going to start that now. And found the car on Facebook Marketplace, standard stock Camaro. Still had the original 305 motor in it. It ran okay. Bought it for $500 from a guy in Canton. Drove it back to the house. Realized there was a bunch wrong with it. And just decided to start the Mad Max build from there. And this is what it snowballed into. A whole lot of I bet you won't. and you said Camaro. What year? Did you say the year? Maybe I missed that. What year was it? 1986 IROC.
An IROC?
328. Yep.
$500 on Marketplace?
Yep. Facebook Marketplace. Best place to find old beat up cars.
Now you talked about...
so this is actually the dually rear axle out of that ramp truck. Surprisingly enough, we barely had to modify anything. Didn't have to drill any holes. Just dropped it underneath of it, and it bolted up. Weirdly enough, same original wheelbase as the Camaro on the inside axle, and then we just custom made hangers for the leaf springs and went that route. And then custom fabricated the top and back ends of steel plate. I think this is 18 gauge. And then these are actually the front fenders off the same truck. Just turned around. And then made a wide body out of it because I wasn't a huge fan of the wheels sticking out too far. But I like the little tuck look.
Mad Max.
Yeah.
So you're a Mad Max fan?
I'm a Mad Max fanatic.
And a lot of folks were like, no, it's kind of a, you'll never do it. And
yeah, you won't. I bet you won't do the dually conversion. I bet you won't put dual wheels on a car. I bet you won't put a tunnel ram motor in it. I bet you won't do all this random other crap. And then off the start, it was just a bunch of people heard what I was doing, a bunch of friends of mine, and they started donating pieces and parts. These bars are actually not tube steel that I painted. These are actual old house antennas, if you remember from back in the day.
Oh, yeah?
The triangle house antennas. All I did was cut it up. I didn't bend any of it. And then Travis started welding the cage on. And then it started with a cage, and the chicken wire, and the light, and the nice door logo, which is actually reminiscent from Fury Road. And so are these logos, but these are all actually hand-painted. I hand-painted these myself. They're not stencils.
Oh, nice. All right, now we got to take just a quick break. And the quick break is, if you were with us 2 weeks ago, we had the Ventana band on, and they were sitting at we were at a bar, hadn't been open yet, and we were just shooting the breeze, and we just turned on the camera and asked them questions, and there were, I think, about 5,000 people that watched that interview.
Oh, yeah.
And if you would, can you go over to that hat real quick?
Yes.
So we're going to draw the name for the Ventana tickets. They're playing on January 13th at Agora. So yeah, go ahead and just pull the winner, and
let's do it this way.
Yeah.
So we don't see. All right.
The winner to the pair of Ventana tickets,
Jesse Matthews.
Jesse, thank you. You know what? Give me that so I can put that in my pocket so I remember. Somebody go ahead and put down Jesse's name here in the comments so we don't forget. But Jesse, thank you for sharing, and congratulations on a pair of tickets. If you already have tickets, then you can bring an extra group with you. But and then thanks to the Ventana band for jumping on and kind of bringing us up to date. Those guys are. Have you seen Ventana in concert yet?
I haven't seen them in concert, but I do know Stitch.
Okay. Yeah. I've known Rick for some time, and he's a perfectionist. And he's really into the imagery, right? And I think that's key here too. So thank you all for jumping in, and thank you all for coming here too. But if you share this video, we know it.
Oh yeah.
And you'll get a piece of your work. Is it a piece of the?
It is actually an original piece of the car.
Really?
I started with the first iteration. It didn't end up working out. It fell apart, unfortunately. So I had to scrap it. So I redesigned and custom did another part, which we will be giving away. And it is one of one. I have never made another one. But I'm getting ready to convert and make a new piece for the car. So that's why we're giving this.
That's why we're giving this one away? Are you going to reveal it?
So it is actually the very large gun on top. This is actually made out of exhaust tubing and ammo cans and some parts of the house antenna. This is actually a wheel spacer and a couple of other assorted parts and pieces. Kids absolutely loved it when I took it to car shows. They just went crazy over it, Fortnite and Call of Duty and all their fun having, but it's also, so everybody knows, it's Project Rust Bucket 101. There will never be another one, and it's signed by myself. Signed.
And so this is not something that we can mail. This is going to be a giveaway that...
it's going to have to be a pickup.
Well, we're going to arrange for a pickup, but a great piece of original work, right?
Oh, yeah. I've had people actually try to buy it off me before. And they're like, "Oh, I gotta have it." I'm like, "Nah."
Share the video, and you get a chance to to win it. Yeah.
Yep. Like, share, and you'll be entered for a chance to win it.
I would imagine that this project. How long has this been going on?
So this has actually been going on for 6 years. The conversion I have it in now started about 6 months ago, and it took me probably 3 months to really get out, fabricate, design, and kind of piece how it was all going to go together. Everything on this car is mostly donated unless it was to make it run or drive. So I tried to spend as little as possible. The ammo cans on the back here, I used to work at Stars and Stripes Military Surplus in downtown Barberton. My boss actually, at the time, donated these. And these were actually used by the Marine Corps. Long time ago. Propane tank, I work at a landfill, so I actually found that buried out in the back. Same with the air tank. All the house antenna was actually pulled off of a house that I did for a buddy of mine. Everything in the back was found, located. There's a couple different signs that were all crunched up. This is actually a dog cage, this part and that part. Just to keep people out of it when it's parked. The dog bowl somebody randomly threw in the back from Winx. I took the car there and they threw it in the back and I just left it there. I was like, no, that's too funny. Because in the second movie, he actually did have a dog. So I found it kind of hilarious. Somebody just threw it back there while I wasn't looking.
And I see peeking out of your back door is your dog too, right?
Yes.
Did your dog ever go riding with you?
Not yet.
Not yet?
No, she is trained, but she's not that trained. Not yet, anyway.
Not yet.
That is Jupiter. She is actually my service dog. Total sweetheart. Whole lot of energy.
So what is your goal, right? So you're creating this crazy Mad Max build on a 86 Camaro. I mean, you are... Like, there is not another one like this.
No.
And you got folks that are following this build from all over the place, right?
Yeah, I'm actually in quite a few different groups. Couple Mad Max groups, couple body swap groups for this car, which I've also posted this car to, and people just freak out over it. They've never seen anything like it, and there will never, ever be anything like it, because this is the only one I'll ever build. I'm not building another one. It takes too much time and effort. And too much of my sanity. But I originally wanted to build it to mess around and have fun, something stupid to play with. And then it kind of snowballed into this whole, everybody's got their hands on it. And they're like, oh, you should do this idea, and you should do this, and put this on the car. Anybody that's ever had anything to actually do with the car, whether they donated an item, whether they did welding or some kind of fabrication, their actually signatures are on the dash.
Oh. Are you going to point that out here?
Yeah, so starting from here all the way down are a bunch of different signatures of people that have had anything to do with the car, period. Yeah. Some of them signed it as like welder. Some of them were just donated pieces and parts.
And you even have some dates on there.
Yeah. Some of them dated it when they signed it.
And your interior is Mad Max.
Oh, yeah.
Like as well.
Have to keep it all a centrical theme. The gear shift. So the car originally was an automatic. I made it a manual 5-speed. The shifter is actually the original camshaft out of the original motor. Just cut it in half and then welded it to the transmission stick. This is an old toolbox. I have a bunch of... This is an actual Boy Scout kit from 1942.
Nice.
That randomly found.
That's perfect.
Oh, yeah. People throw their stuff away, and I'm just like, no, that's too cool. Actual gas mask. That was in military surplus quite a few years ago. Some of the tools that I used to build the car, fire extinguisher, was actually donated. Because everybody was afraid I'd blow myself up in this thing.
I'll tell you what, yeah, so for those who share, a quick reminder, for those who share, in a week you get to draw and have a piece of...
The Vanna White.
Yeah, the build, the gun, right? And so you're gonna replace this gun with another one? Is that what's going to happen?
So the problem with this one is, so this is actually a TV mount.
Okay.
A TV wall mount that we turned into a turret. So it actually does spin and tilt and everything else. The gun is actually way too heavy, and it keeps breaking the central mount.
Oh, I see.
So what we're going to do is a buddy of mine's going to donate a bunch of PVC pipe of different sizes and shapes, and we're going to actually make a giant harpoon gun, which is very reminiscent of the video games if you've ever played them, which there's a lot of features from the car that I kind of stole aspects from the game because I absolutely love the game, especially since it was done by Rockstar. But they did it right. A lot of the video games, you got a harpoon gun that you can latch to other cars and drag them around and do damage. So that's kind of reminiscent of what I'm going to do, except I'm going to make it a little more medieval looking. We were going to have a buddy of mine who builds props for Hollywood was actually going to build a realistic 50 caliber machine gun popper, which was oxyacetylene and propane. And when you hit the trigger, it was going to, bang, 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 bang. And I was told by a lot of people with badges that probably wouldn't be advised. So we're going the route of the harpoon gun that's non-functional.
But better to know now than to put a bunch of money into it and
get down the
excite
road
the crowds, right?
Oh yeah, and I have been pulled over in this car many times.
So you drive this right on the street?
Oh yeah. For the last 3 years, it's actually everybody in this town knows this car.
And your neighbors too, right?
Oh yeah.
And now the whole Mad Max, kind of the apocalypse that's pretty popular, right? And tell us a little bit about the events that gather people of like minds.
Originally, this car was supposed to be built because I have always wanted to go to Wasteland Weekend. So if you don't know what Wasteland Weekend is, it's a huge gathering of Mad Max fanatics here in America that go out to the desert and they spend 3-4 days in a realistic, wholesome Mad Max environment. Like you're sleeping in tents, there are no hotels. You're literally in the middle of the desert, and people bring all kinds of crazy vehicles. They have a car competition that they rate by survivability. What if it's actually like would it function in the movies? Would it be in a survival aspect? Would you actually survive with it? So I built it to be as functional as possible. Fortunately, have never got there yet because it's like 2,000 miles away and the car doesn't ever want to stay running for longer than 3 months. So the functionality half I'm still trying to get around.
Tell me about this because as I walked in here, I know that you've built helmets and costumes and all kinds of crazy stuff too. You've even kind of created a jacket and some other accoutrement for your Mad Max persona, right?
Oh yeah. So of course, you have to have the car, you have to have the gear. So I actually made a old jacket of mine I took and made shoulder pads. This actually I found at our landfill. It came in from a house demo that we did. And then I riveted it to the jacket. And then this is actually made from old license plates off of cars that I've owned. And it does actually move. So it's very flexible. And then behind you, I actually have the knee pad, which is very reminiscent from the first Mad Max movie when he goes all postal. These are actually the original license plates off of the Camaro. And I had to keep them because it's HRF or Heavy Reaction Force 6669. And I thought that was hysterical because the odds of me getting that license plate was 1 in a million.
So if you are a Mad Max fan, right, and you haven't heard of it, and what is the festival called again?
It's called Wasteland Weekend.
Wasteland Weekend is out in the desert.
Yeah, I can't remember if it's in Nevada or on the edge of California. I have a buddy, Thomas, that goes there. He also has a 3rd-gen Camaro, but his has like the huge blower weighing intake on it. His car's ridiculous. It's lifted on a 4x4 frame, and I had to outdo him. All
right. So, for those folks that want to know, because this is not just welding pieces. You've combined truck and car. Well, how many miles were on this car when you got it?
So originally on the motor itself, because I guess the odometer stopped working after so long. The odometer stopped at 165,000, but the motor actually was the original motor from the Chevy factory back in 1986. Had 285,000 miles on it. Usually, and everybody knows this, you get a newer car, they're only good for about 150,000 miles, and then people usually trade them in, or they break, or they blow up. That motor still ran. I actually sold, when I did this conversion, I sold the original motor to a guy that builds stock cars. He's still driving it.
So there's got to be, another 50,000?
Oh, he'll probably get another 50, 100,000 miles out of it. Yep.
So, man, probably near 400,000 miles.
It's going to be like a Honda motor. You can't kill it.
All right, point us out, because this isn't just, weld together a car. This is...
Yeah, this is a lot of getting everything to work together.
Yeah.
This is actually 5 different vehicles.
Okay.
Ironically enough. So, the motor, this is actually a 79 Corvette 350 that's been heavily upgraded with a lot of... performance, like it's got a performance camshaft, it's got performance rockers, and
Corvette engine.
Yeah, that's actually the engine out of my buddy's Corvette. The tunnel ram intake and both Holley carburetors were actually I actually bought off of another friend of mine for $200. So all in all, I only have $300 in this motor.
Really?
Yep, completely. So I have about $800 in car engine. The transmission was actually given to me by a friend of mine who also has another 3rd-gen Camaro. This is the most recent addition because I had an original shotgun air scoop on it, but I walked out the other day and I was like, you know what, that's not Mad Max enough. Like everybody, I like unique, nobody has it, you'll never see another one. And actually, ironically enough, the original scoop's up there. So I came up with the crazy idea of everybody's seen drag cars, how they have the big 3-scoop blowers on them.
Yeah.
It looks so freaking cool when you're looking at it on a strip. I wanted 5 flaps. I wanted 5 of them to open, be functional. This is actually 4-inch exhaust tubing.
Okay.
This is all flat sheet metal for like air ducting. This is probably the only part that I've bought because it's hard to find 4-inch tubing. Like it's not something you can just walk out and find. But it is all hand bent. This is all hand bent on my metal brake. These are all welded together. Drilling the hole to get the linkage to actually work and move as I hit the throttle on the carburetors was probably the hardest portion of it. But I mean, to be functional, there are 2 air filters in here over top of the carb. So I had to figure out how to get the whole thing apart with it being stout enough for if I drive down the street, it won't blow off. So that was the biggest challenge, was trying to figure out how to get the air filters out to change them while making it function and look aesthetically correct. And then, of course, I had to do the Fury Road Witness Me on the front. That's actually in chrome paint that I did with a sponge.
We come down here because the Project Rust Bucket, named by your daughter.
Yep.
Yeah, painted here right on the front, but got all kinds of great Mad Max feel here.
Yeah, this is actually the final drive ring off of a bulldozer.
Oh, okay. It had the right aesthetic.
Yeah, and then this is the a 1940 Chevy pickup emblem that was given to me.
So you said you have parts of how many cars on this one again?
So there are actually 5 cars.
5 cars.
Yes, 5 cars. A 79 Chevy C10, which is the front fenders off of it, or the outside for the wide body. The rear axle off of it. This is from a 79 Corvette. I have, so there's 2 right there. A 92 Camaro V6 transmission. It's not a V8. It's actually not straight up and down. It's actually supposed to be cocked to the side, the way they designed them back then for the V6s. So my transmission actually sits at an angle, and it's really hard to get all that to work correctly. So there's 3, and then I have the clutch out of a 86 Astro van, because it's really hard to get all that to work. It also has the flex plate, and the flex plate out of the truck also. And the 5th one, can't remember, because there's just a lot.
Well, I tell you what, Sean Smith said he stopped scrolling when he saw your the motor, and
yeah, it's definitely the attention getter of the car. The hood is actually outside. It does have a cutout, but eventually we're going to have it lift this way, because if we tried to lift it this way, it would get caught on the scoop. I couldn't cut out enough of it, but it's just sitting back here against the planter. I had it on the car a couple days ago just to test fit, make sure none of the metal would get involved and mess up the alignment or any of it. Oh yeah, the dual radiator fans and the radiator is actually out of a 57 Chevy.
A 57 looks brand new.
Yeah, it's 3-core. My buddy, actually, the one that has the tunnel ram, actually, this was on his 57 Chevy back in the day. Now he's got a big weigh-in blower and stuff on it. It's actually a drag car. But he gave me the radiator and the tunnel ram out of it. So this setup was actually ran back in the 70s on a drag car.
Where did all this knowledge come from, right? Because this is not something you build. You know, you just go, I'm going to build something, right? And fuse. Where did some of the working knowledge, the mechanical, as well as just the maybe inspiration behind welding and creating this crazy build?
So a lot of it actually. So I spent 6 years in the military. I was the Ohio National Guard.
Thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you. And I was ammunition supply for an Abrams tank battalion. So I was around a lot of big boom and a lot of really cool moving stuff. So you've seen a lot of like you go back into cold storage where they keep all their stuff to take eventually to auction once they get new stuff. You see a lot of really cool stuff.
Yeah.
We found a Sherman buried out in Ravenna Armory, dug it out and found out the key actually still worked and the thing still ran.
Really?
We were amazed by it. But I've done some very hazardous jobs for the Army, and that's actually how I got the call sign Hazmat. Okay. That's why it's my name on Facebook. And then it just kind of stuck, you know. So I've been called Hazmat, Frankenstein, because obviously none of this stuff should ever work together. It's kind of just a lot of finagling. But I actually started with little models, little scale models. You know, I'd build like little cars and stuff and figure it out. And then I started to upscale. I started originally working on, this was the first car I started actually like modifying. I was like, you know what, it'd be really cool to learn how to do some of this stuff. So I got into engine building, and then I started getting into like, YouTube mechanic, watch videos on YouTube of how to take apart an automatic transmission and kind of delving into it, but never giving up. Even though this car has taken me 6 years to build, and it's been one problem after another, and something doesn't work, or you get stranded out on the road. So there's a lot of videos and pictures out there somewhere of this car in the back of Miller's towing tow truck, especially down off Manchester. But I never let it stop and get in my head that it will never work. I had to. I'll admit, I've called friends and I'm like, hey, how can I get this crazy idea to work with this certain part? Like, nobody ever thought a dually rear axle would go onto a car like just slip it under and it bolts in. Like none of us knew it. We're like, hey, what would you do if you had a dually rear end and you wanted to stick it under a car? How would you do it? So I got some of the aesthetic stylings are from a lot of different people.
Yeah, so for those, I mean, the dually.
Oh yeah, it's probably the nastiest part of the car because it has what's called a Detroit locker in it. And for those of people that are not as mechanically inclined as most, a Detroit locker, instead of normally only two sides of the wheels would spin, so you'd only have two wheels on one side. Mm-hmm. This actually spins all four at the same time.
Oh, okay.
So 4-tire burnout. Just imagine it. I don't have it moving yet. I actually had to pull the drive shaft off of it because it still runs in neutral. So I have to take the transmission out, take it apart, and figure out why it's getting stuck. Which is why it's not on the road right now, because I'd be out driving the hell out of this thing. But everything on the car does work. The fans work. That's actual. It's supposed to pull the heat out the front while this cools the engine from the back. And tested it yesterday. It does work as planned. There's a lot of things I couldn't get to work, but eventually found a way to get them to work.
What have I missed asking you about? By the way, Kelly Pryor said it's been fun building it, Don.
Yeah. So Kelly's husband, Kevin, is actually, he's done most of this. He actually welded in these plates and helped me configure how we were going to exactly get this to sit with having a turning radius.
Yeah.
Because this is really low. I'm afraid of taking it out of my driveway and scraping.
Yeah.
But so these are actually.
So you have a whole second exterior.
Oh yeah.
On this, right?
Yeah. We did not take the original fenders off. They're actually underneath this.
Okay.
But like the turn signals, these are the fenders off the C30, and these are the turn signal lights, which do actually work. We just rewired it. Of course, key's got to be forward, but it does work. So everything is street legal.
Justin said, "Awesome, bro." Justin Anglin or Anglin, and when might we see this? Because you've been interviewed or captured the attention of other people, and this thing is out and about. People are stopping you, and yeah.
2 years ago, I used to work at Gold Brothers Haunted House. This car was actually sitting outside. If you've ever been to the haunt, it's out on Manchester Road. The car sat in the parking lot, and like it was hilarious because I was the zone supervisor, which is actually where I met Roger, and he came in to give a actor's tutorial, right?
Yeah.
Train some of the actors, and we would actually have people lined up to look at the car before they went into the haunt. And it was hilarious because you'd see two lines, and everybody's like, what's the other line for? And they're like, oh, they're looking at Don's car. And it was hilarious. And Dave Barton, actually, the owner of Gold Brothers, donated the entire front bumper is pretty much him. The old racks that he had for the haunt, I have no idea where he got these metal rods, but he's just like, here, take some, put them on your car.
I'll find a way.
I'll find a spot for him.
Yeah.
Because originally it had a PVC plastic tube bumper. And Dave's like, oh, you can't do that. It's got to be metal. You know, it's got to be Mad Max. It's got to be metal.
Thank you for sharing your build, your story. Thank you for your service. We're glad that you kind of caught that bug and creating a Mad Max vehicle right now. You had said, I think it's your Facebook profile. It says coffee, guns, and cars. And this is testament of that as well.
Guns, coffee, and cars.
All right. So for those who share this interview, when you share it, you can share it to a group. You can share it to your friends. But when you share it, we know it. And if your name is drawn, you get this one-of-a-kind build, this gun that's been on your Mad Max vehicle for years. You're putting on a lighter weight copy as well. And then, man, even the back. the back looks apocalyptic. Yeah, for sure. And
you could definitely attest to this. So normally when you jump in your car, the suspension, it sags, right? Because you go over a pothole and it's like makes it nice and comfy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there is no
give. You can 100% sit on it. That doesn't even squat. I don't even have the shocks in yet. That's just all the leaf spring.
And so, if you even look underneath here, we kind of gave a peek earlier. You can see that this isn't just a beginner's build. This is serious from the back end to the front end. I see another.
Yeah. So
is there a story behind this, or is this another interview?
That was an impulse buy.
Okay.
I like my 350, but this is actually a big block Chevy 468.
Oh.
Which eventually is going to go into this car somehow. I am going to have to cut out a lot of firewall to make it fit, and then that motor is going to go in this car. But I'm going to keep it tunnel ram, big block, all kinds. But this will be my daughter's car. She's going to have it. It's going to be air ride. It's going to look kind of cool. I'm letting her design every piece of it. I'm just going to step back and tell her how. But that's going to be 99% her, from the paint to the interior to if she wants to drag it, if she wants to put it on air ride, however she wants to do it.
Yeah, and this can be kind of a dad and daughter project.
Oh yeah, this keeps her from wanting my car, because every time we went to a car show, she's like, "Oh, this is my car." I'm like, "No, this is Dad's car."
Oh man,
that will always be too much horsepower for her.
Well, I'll tell you what, we appreciate you jumping in here. Last interview of 2023, taking us inside your garage, sharing us with us your projects. And we're going to keep an eye on you being out and about, and of course we're going to make sure we post engine running, this thing out on the street.
Oh yeah,
and hopefully we'll root you on to the festivals. Take that thing out to the desert. And
I can't wait for that one. That's probably going to be later on in 2024, but for now it's going to stay local. I do go to when Winks has their car show down here. Great food, local restaurant. They've had car shows for I don't know how many years. They shut down for a couple years during COVID, and then became under new ownership, so they built like a giant patio with drinks and TVs, and then they brought the car shows back. That car has been up there I don't know how many times. And it's always the showstopper. People are like, "Oh yeah, look, classic resto mod. Oh look, an original Camaro," and then they're like, "What is that?" But I'm usually up there every weekend in it. If I'm not in that, I'm in my Challenger, because I'm just out there scoping other people's builds and stuff. But I've been up to the big one in Canal Fulton. That was the last one I went to before I started the conversion, and it was definitely an eye catcher. I think the best story, though, I have of it is we have a local gas station down the street from us called Rocky's. I'm really good friends with Sean, one of the owners, and I was taking the car for a test drive after I put the new motor in, and something happened and it wouldn't start back up. So I went inside and asked Sean. I said, "Hey, can I leave the car here for the night? I have to go to work in the morning, come back, I'll get a tow truck and I'll have it towed back to the house." He's like, "Oh yeah, man, that's no problem." So it sat outside of his gas station for probably 12 hours. Well, his brother was working the counter, and I got off work and I went back in, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm here to get the car. Just letting you know I called the tow truck." And his brother Anthony was like, "Never again." And I'm thinking like something happened. It was leaking fluid all over the driveway. Yeah. I felt horrible, and I'm like, "Oh God, why?" And he goes, "Dude, do you know how many pictures I've taken today?" He's like, "Nobody has bought gas. It's literally everybody has stopped in here to take pictures with the car." I was like, "Well, if you want to ever advertisement, it's free." But I have a really good relationship with them. they've actually put up a post on it on Facebook for their car of the month back in May, I believe. It was in a national commercial for Fred Martin that aired Halloween 2 years ago. Big Vern's Moto Life on YouTube. I took it to a car show up in Derby Downs last year or the year before.
You got people from all over. You said a lot of Australian guys are watching your build here as well. And
the Australian guys love it. They're like, oh, it's so ridiculous. But yeah, it's definitely been a good time. It does have its moments. You know, things do break, and then you're like, crap. Then it's got to sit in the garage for another 3 months.
Yeah.
But you know, it keeps me busy.
Yeah.
Keeps me sane. Keeps me on my toes.
I'll tell you what, there's a whole bunch of people watching. Thank you guys. I know that right now we've got double digits watching here live, and we appreciate your shares. Remember, if you share this, we'll know it. And next week, we'll go ahead and draw a name, and you'll get the gun, the single piece here, and
definitely man cave worthy.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. and Don, thanks for sharing this. We're going to keep you guys up to date on this thing out on the road, where it's going. I know it's out on the road every once in a while, but we want to get updates when it's back out there, later or earlier next year. So, guys, we appreciate you sharing and jumping on. Keep the comments coming, even if it's not live, because we'll get back to those comments as well, and we'll look forward to giving that gun away next week. So, thanks again, thanks Don, and thanks you guys for joining us today.